You've seen them, miles of brand new cars sitting in perfectly lined rows under dealership floodlights, gleaming hoods, factory stickers still on the windows, not a scratch on them. And yet, nobody's buying them. Weeks pass, months pass. Some of those cars are still sitting in the exact same spot. So here's the question nobody really answers. What actually happens to a car that just won't sell? Does the manufacturer take it back? Does it get destroyed? Does it quietly disappear somewhere? The answer is more fascinating and more complicated than most people realize. And if you're planning to buy a car anytime soon, understanding this process can save you serious money. Let's break it all down. The scale of the problem. First, let's establish just how big this issue actually is right now, because the numbers are staggering. The Dodge Charger currently has over 6,800 unsold units sitting at dealerships across the country. At the current pace of sales, those cars represent roughly 312 days of supply, meaning it would take nearly a full year to sell through what's already on the lots. That's not a small backlog, that's a crisis. And the Charger isn't an isolated case. The Ford Bronco, the Infiniti QX80, the Ford Escape, thousands of units across multiple models are collecting dust instead of collecting owners. The Ford Escape alone has nearly 58,000 unsold units nationwide, with a market supply that stretches well beyond 6 months. So how does this happen? And more importantly, once a car is stuck, what comes next? How the system actually works. Before we get into the fate of unsold vehicles, you need to understand something most car buyers don't know. Dealerships don't actually own the cars on their lots outright. They finance them. When a manufacturer ships vehicles to a dealership, the dealer takes out what's called a floor plan loan, essentially borrowing money to pay the manufacturer up front for that inventory. Every single car sitting on that lot is actively costing the dealership money in interest, insurance, and storage space. That changes the math completely. This isn't a retailer casually holding merchandise until the right customer walks in. Every day a car sits unsold, the dealership is losing money. The industry standard is to move a vehicle within 60 to 90 days of receiving it. Beyond that window, the financial pressure becomes significant. And here's the part that really locks dealers in. Once a manufacturer ships a car to a dealership, it cannot be sent back. There are no returns in this business. Whatever arrives on that lot is the dealer's problem to solve. So with the clock ticking and no option to return the merchandise, dealers have developed a surprisingly sophisticated playbook for moving stuck inventory. Move number 1, cut the price and stack the incentives. The first and most straightforward tool in the dealer's arsenal is discounting. When a model isn't moving, prices come down, sometimes aggressively. But it doesn't stop at sticker price reductions. Manufacturers often step in alongside dealers to sweeten the deal further, rolling out 0% financing offers, cashback programs, employee pricing promotions, and attractive lease structures specifically designed to accelerate sales on slow models. Dealers themselves will layer on additional value, complimentary maintenance packages, extended warranty coverage, enhanced trade-in offers, anything that makes the deal feel irresistible without completely gutting their profit margin. This is actually great news for informed buyers. If you're watching a specific model sit on dealership lots for months, that's your signal to negotiate hard. The longer it's been there, the more motivated the dealer is to move it, and the more room there is for a deal that heavily favors you. Move number 2, turn it into a used car. If discounts alone don't do the job, dealers get creative. One of the more surprising strategies is deliberately converting a brand new unsold car into a used one. The method is simple. Put the car into the dealership's loaner fleet. When customers bring their vehicles in for service, they're offered a loaner car to use in the meantime. If a new car has been sitting unsaleable for months, it gets pressed into loaner duty. After a few months of customer use, that car now has mileage on it. And the moment a car accumulates mileage, it legally becomes a used car, even if it still looks and smells brand new. Used cars carry lower price tags, and crucially, they tend to sell faster than new ones because buyers perceive them as better value. A variation on this approach involves demo vehicles. A sales manager or senior employee drives the car for a few months, then returns it to the lot as a lightly used demo with a reduced price. Many of these vehicles end up in certified pre-owned programs, manufacturer-backed, inspected, and warrantied, where they move quickly because buyers feel confident getting near new quality at a used car price. For savvy shoppers, these CPO vehicles can represent some of the best deals in the entire market. You get a car that's essentially new, backed by a manufacturer warranty at a price that reflects its brief service history rather than its actual condition.
Move number 3, ship it somewhere else. Consumer preferences aren't uniform across the country. A convertible that sits untouched at a dealership in Wisconsin all winter might be exactly what a buyer in Arizona is looking for right now. A large luxury sedan that feels oversized for urban markets in the Northeast might be precisely what a buyer in suburban Texas wants. Geography creates opportunity. Dealers regularly trade inventory with each other to exploit these regional demand differences. A vehicle that's genuinely wrong for one market might be genuinely right for another. These trades happen between dealerships of the same brand, between dealers in different states, and sometimes across regional networks, all with the shared goal of connecting slow-moving inventory with the buyers most likely to want it. Specialty trims, specific color combinations, and unique configurations that feel like the wrong fit for one dealership's customer base can find enthusiastic buyers just a few hundred miles away. The logistics of moving a car from one lot to another are minor compared to the financial relief of finally closing the sale. Move number 4, the auction floor. When a vehicle has survived discounting, CPO conversion attempts, and regional trading without finding a buyer, it ends up on the auction block. Auto auctions are a massive, largely invisible industry that most consumers never interact with directly, but they quietly shape the entire used car market. There are 2 primary categories. Closed auctions are restricted to franchise dealers of a specific brand, Ford dealers bidding on Ford inventory, for example, which helps manufacturers maintain some control over resale pricing and brand perception. Open auctions allow any licensed dealer to participate, creating a genuinely competitive environment where prices can fall dramatically. The largest player in this space is Manheim, owned by Cox Automotive, which operates auction facilities across the country processing enormous volumes of vehicles daily. If a car is completely struck out at the retail level, there's a very high probability it eventually passes through a facility like Manheim. Cars rarely sell at full value at auction. Dealers typically take a loss, sometimes a significant one, but a partial loss is still better than continuing to service a floor plan loan on a car that isn't generating any revenue. Rental car companies are among the most active buyers of these auctions, which is why there's a reasonable chance the rental car you picked up at the airport last summer started life as an unsold dealership unit before being auctioned off into the rental fleet. What happens before the car even reaches a dealership? Everything we've discussed so far covers cars that at least made it to a dealership lot, but sometimes the problem gets identified earlier at the manufacturer level before the vehicles even ship. When production forecasts turn out to be badly wrong and a model simply isn't generating orders, manufacturers have their own set of options. Large storage facilities exist specifically to hold surplus vehicles while manufacturers wait for demand to recover or market conditions to shift. You've likely seen aerial photographs of these lots, thousands of identical vehicles parked in geometric grids across vast open fields, waiting. Some of these vehicles get redirected to international markets. A model that doesn't resonate with American buyers might have strong demand in South America, Southeast Asia, or parts of Africa. Rather than force inventory into an already oversupplied domestic market, manufacturers reroute it where it's actually wanted. And in rare but documented cases, manufacturers choose to destroy unsold inventory entirely. It sounds extreme, but the logic is financial and strategic. Flooding the market with deeply discounted new cars damages brand perception and undermines resale values across the entire model lineup. Sometimes it's more economically rational to scrap the vehicles, recover what value exists in salvageable parts, and absorb the write-off, rather than compromise the brand's pricing integrity. Every single car that rolls off an assembly line eventually ends up somewhere. It might find its original buyer. It might become a loaner, a demo, a rental, or a deeply discounted auction purchase. In rare cases, it gets shipped overseas or quietly taken apart for parts. But no car simply disappears, and understanding where they go reveals a lot about how this industry actually operates beneath the surface. The real takeaway for you as a buyer? Slow selling inventory is negotiating leverage. When you see a model piling up on dealership lots with no movement, that's your opportunity. The dealer needs that car gone far more than you need that specific car. Use that knowledge, and you might drive away with the best deal you've ever made.